All right, we are live here and on the San Francisco Standard. Christian McCaffrey is back out on the practice field. The 49ers have officially opened his practice window to return from Achilles tendonitis. Look, there's even video. This is courtesy of Matt Lively, who works for K-Pix. Christian McCaffrey looking spry out there on the practice field. Healthy, the inflammation down. Now the 49ers will hope to keep it that way. And if that happens, then Christian has a chance to play this Sunday against Tampa Bay. Now, the practice window that the 49ers just opened can last 3 weeks. It's exactly 3 weeks. So it's November 4th right now. On November 25th, the practice window will expire. So the 49ers must activate Christian McCaffrey to the 53-man roster before then. But thanks to Matt Lively for this video. You see McCaffrey along with other 49ers back out at practice. There's more news today. John Feliciano, San Francisco's veteran offensive lineman, is back out at practice. And as expected, Jauan Jennings also back out there. It's a bonus practice following the bye week for the 49ers in Santa Clara. Feliciano, by the way, they're looking at him as a sixth offensive lineman. They think he's a great backup for any of the interior spots. As I have gone through in so many of these 49ers pieces lately, I mean, we have this McCaffrey one, but I also talked about the 49ers offense, how they can take it from good to great. Could even scroll down on this piece to show you what I talked about in the offensive line room. These guys are performing well. Darker colors are better, especially in run block percentile. San Francisco's offensive line is doing a good job. So there's no acute need for John Feliciano anywhere in the starting five unless somebody gets hurt. He's coming off of a knee operation that's kept him out of this season so far. And that knee operation is now in the rearview mirror for Feliciano. So the 49ers can add some depth to their offensive line. But this is about McCaffrey. Let's talk about this, especially what I was able to write this week, how Christian McCaffrey can take the 49ers offense from good to great since he's back out there on that practice field. Really big news for the 49ers. Number 7 offense this year without McCaffrey. That's by DVOA, defense adjusted value over average. They were the number 1 offense with him last year. Kyle Shanahan has called him the NFL MVP. That was, 2 weeks ago at most? Kyle Shanahan very recently said that about McCaffrey. 49ers believe that their offense operates through him and Brock Purdy. That's the engine of this offense. Purdy obviously is playing the most important position, the quarterback position, but McCaffrey's the one that gives them that boost into the elite stratosphere. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He was the NFL rushing champion last year. He had over 2,000 all-purpose yards. He is a gravitational force. Like Steph Curry, who happens to be missing some time right now for the Golden State Warriors, Christian McCaffrey is somebody who draws defensive attention even when he doesn't have the football. So when I went through this up on the Standard the other day, and maybe Mike can put both of these links up there. I'm going to send them to Mike. Mike, if you could toss the first link I sent you into the description, and if you can also toss this second link in there, go read the San Francisco Standard. How a healthy Christian McCaffrey can take the 49ers offense from good to great. What I write is that the framework from elite production has been there for the 49ers. Can their all-world running back help them realize their potential? Talked about this a lot in the video that I made, the 8-minute video to announce Christian McCaffrey's return to practice, but we can get even further into it here. I mean, Purdy's been excellent. You can see in the XY chart, if you open that up, he's in the upper right. We're here to talk about McCaffrey, who in this, in particular, this is the 49ers yards per route run receiving chart. You could see that his spot, Christian's, is blank in 2024 because he hadn't played yet. He delivered 1.36 yards per route run last year that the 49ers simply haven't made up for yet. And I don't think that it's just the yards per route run that McCaffrey himself delivers that can be seen on the box score, that can be seen on the stat sheet. It's about the other guys that are more easily able to get open, because Christian McCaffrey is such a good gravitational force for the 49ers. So you can help things in that way. And then rushing efficiency for San Francisco hadn't been great this year. They're number 12 overall in rushing efficiency, but below average in the red zone and in third and fourth and short situations when the defense knows that a run is likely. The 49ers have gone from top half of the league or top 5 in the league to a bottom 10 in the league. And Jordan Mason has run well. And I went through how Jordan Mason has run in that piece that looked at the 49ers midterm performance up on the Athletic. But Mason is not McCaffrey, who's a future Hall of Famer. We've seen Isaac Guerendo start to take some strides for the 49ers, and he's got elite burst, which I think is going to play really well in San Francisco's system. Already has played well. I think he's gotten more and more confident every year. The look at Guerendo should show you what exactly the 49ers need to allow the outside zone to operate the way that Kyle Shanahan truly wants it to operate, so then he could run the play action, all the yak stuff off of that. Mason is more of a change of pace power back. We've compared him to Marshawn Lynch. It's just a different style that's valuable to the 49ers in its own right. But I think that the best roles and the best places for these running backs is McCaffrey obviously is the number one. He's the all everything guy that can do everything. Guerendo as your outside zone specialist, number 2, outside inside zone, and Mason as your 2A, but somebody who can really, really power his way through defenses, especially tender defenses in the second half of games. That's where the 49ers have made Guerendo the closer in the past. I'm not, assigning this specific 1, 2, and 3 roles. I'm assigning this the 1 role for Christian McCaffrey and then 2A and 2B for Guerendo and Jordan Mason. And you could go either direction with that. Obviously, Guerendo is newer on the scene, so maybe put him at 2B if that's better for the football meritocracy. But my point is that the 49ers can use all 3 of these guys. And Steve Young even recommended, why don't they just put all 3 of them into the backfield at the same time? And I think that's it's an aggressive idea. It's an interesting idea. It's not necessarily one the 49ers have to subscribe to. But I did talk about this in another video, and you should watch both of them because there's a lot of ground to cover here. But the 2 running back system has been a thing for the 49ers in the past. This was back in 2022. They traded for McCaffrey with the Carolina Panthers. Before they traded Jeff Wilson Jr. away, there were 2 games there, including one against the Rams where McCaffrey just went nuts. He had the throwing touchdown to Brandon Ayuk. He ran in for a touchdown from short range of the goal line, and he caught a touchdown from Jimmy Garoppolo on the other end zone. 49ers still had Jeff Wilson before trading him to the Miami Dolphins. And in that game, the 49ers ran both Wilson and McCaffrey at times in the backfield simultaneously. So Kyle Shanahan can get creative here. As I write about the 49ers offense, impressing people with some of the things that they've done in terms of style. I mean, the air yards for Brock Purdy have gone up. He's been able to attack more in the intermediate part of the field, attack more deep, but they've also seen regressions that have gone along with that in other areas, such as the short passing game. I think that you use McCaffrey and you use another running back potentially at the same time to try to fill that void in the short passing game. One of the crazy stats entering the 49ers win against the Dallas Cowboys was that they had attempted the fewest screen passes, 11 before that game in the entire NFL. They had the fewest screen pass yardage in the entire league. The short passing game without Christian McCaffrey has taken a big hit for the 49ers. And I think that's hurt offensive sustainability for this team. The easy dump off to McCaffrey, which isn't so easy, right? You put somebody else in there and the rapport, the timing is not the same with the quarterback, but the seemingly easy dump off to Christian McCaffrey is a huge security blanket for this offense. It's a way that you raise the floor of offensive performance and simultaneously raise the ceiling because McCaffrey is such a good football player. And I think that's something that the 49ers can really reinsert into the lineup now that they have their all-world player back at practice. Again, Matt Lively did a great job with the video from practice. We're going to credit Matt Lively with that. We can take a look at Christian McCaffrey running there on the practice field for the 49ers. It turns out that a lot of Twitter experts who said that Christian McCaffrey was going to retire, that he couldn't even walk anymore, were wrong. I mean, there were literally YouTube videos, and definitely not on this channel because we got the most people watching here, so I can't get this wrong. But there are other people out there who said that the 49ers were lying about Christian McCaffrey's status, that he wouldn't play this year. I mean, it was literally in headlines, and that he wouldn't return to practice this year. Well, that's already been disproven. As you can see, Christian McCaffrey back out on the practice field for the 49ers. So this is another cautionary tale of make sure you get your information from the right sources, because the wrong sources are going to be incorrect, just like they are over and over and over again about a lot of 49ers stuff. Anyway, that is from Matt Lively. K-Pix did a really good job. Christian McCaffrey is back for the 49ers ahead of their next game coming up here, week 10 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going to be in Florida. I'll have to check the weather for that game here in a second. Going to be back on the East Coast. Early start, I think 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Maybe McCaffrey is suited up for that game. Again, this is just the practice window that opened today for the 49ers. We will update you, I'm guessing, on Saturday if Christian McCaffrey is formally activated to the 49ers 53-man roster. They've got 3 weeks to do so. So the schedule moving forward is 49ers at Tampa Bay on Sunday, followed by 49ers at home against the Seahawks on November 17th, followed by 49ers at Packers, Lambeau Field on November 24th. That is 20 days from now. 21 days from now, that's the end of Christian McCaffrey's ramp-up window. They have to activate him to the 53-man roster before then. And if that happens, at the very deadline, it would be on November 25th, but I do think that people hope and people might even expect that's going to happen sooner. What McCaffrey did to get ready for this particular practice was he ran some simulated practices, just him and trainers over the past few days, how to make sure that the inflammation was down in the Achilles. Now, this is the thing. The Achilles, when it's tendonitis, and he's got it in both Achilles, bilateral Achilles tendonitis, that means the Achilles is frayed. It's warmed down a bit, and inflammation which is painful, is something that gives the body and the brain a warning sign that, okay, this Achilles is struggling a bit. Rest and rehab are two things that must be delicately balanced to re-strengthen that Achilles and to make sure the player is in good position to not suffer a much more serious injury when he returns. So that's what the 49ers have been delicately balancing. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey went to Germany, as we know, for some treatment, for more opinions on what he could do. That was now over a month ago, and now he's back on the practice field for the 49ers, but they have to continue running this delicate balance moving forward because the ramp-up period did go well. The inflammation stayed away, and now they have to hope that it stays away through an actual week of practice before McCaffrey is actually able to take the field. I think it's a good time to take a look at the 49ers roster now. Here we go. Now, I don't have McCaffrey listed there because he is on injured reserve. So if we scroll down, here's his name, Christian McCaffrey. He is eligible to return, obviously, because he's already back out at practice. 49ers have 8 return to play activations to use in a year. They've already used 2 of those, one on Kalia Davis and one on Ricky Pearsall. So I would expect them to use a third and a fourth of those on Christian McCaffrey and John Feliciano back out at practice today as well for the 49ers. So they would still have 4 return to play activations left. Have to use those carefully. Somebody like Javon Hargrave might be able to return for the postseason, so you definitely don't want to run out of activations for him. Yetur Gross-Matos, they hope to have him back by week 11. That's November 17th against the Seahawks, so potentially keep one for him. So we're already up to 6. Talanoa Hufanga would be 7. And, if they do run out of cornerback depth at some point, Ambry Thomas might be waiting in the wings for this team to activate as well. Notice they didn't put Jake Moody on injured reserve. That way they don't have to use an activation on Moody. Anyway, rest of the 49ers depth chart is visible here. McCaffrey, Mason right now had the shoulder sprain entering the bye week. We'll find out. Shanahan didn't speak today. We're going to hear more from Kyle Shanahan when he takes the podium on Wednesday after the Players' Day off tomorrow. But we'll see where Jordan Mason is returning from the shoulder sprain. We know that Chris Conley at the receiver room is week to week right now with an injury, so that's going to take a while. He probably won't be back against Tampa Bay. Jauan Jennings was back out on the practice field today, so we can go ahead and remove the injury shading from Jauan Jennings' name here, and I would assume that Deebo Samuel is going to be okay too, but until we hear official word about Deebo Samuel, we won't know for sure. D. Winters, Kevin Givens on the defensive side, injury tags after the last game. 49ers just had a bye week. They are much more healthy now than they were just a few weeks ago, and I would assume that the bye week takes them into a spot of even greater health. A little bit later today, I'm going to have a video taking a first look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have not played good defense yet this year. San Francisco, 6.5-point favorites. If you watch Monday Night Football tonight, you will see Tampa Bay playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is the one schedule break that the 49ers have seemingly all year. They're playing more teams than anybody ever has who are coming off their bye weeks. It's tough. The 49ers net rest differential is terrible this year, but they get to play Tampa Bay. That's an exception to the rule. They get to play Tampa Bay while the Bucs are coming off a short week and the 49ers are coming off the bye. That's a big, big advantage for San Francisco, and part of the reason why they're 6.5-point favorites. Another reason, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin for Tampa Bay. It's 110 catches on the shelf in this game. So it's Baker Mayfield against a superior quarterback in Brock Purdy, and maybe the Buccaneers and this languishing defense, they're number 27 in expected points added out of 32 teams on the defensive side. Maybe, just maybe, that Buccaneers defense is also going to have to work with Christian McCaffrey. Let's take a look at a 49ers Q&A. I could also have that roster open as we talk here on the channel. I'm ready for any questions that you might have following the return of Christian McCaffrey to practice. No need to rush Christian McCaffrey back, and I don't think the 49ers will. They're just going to go with whatever they feel is working best at the moment. So if McCaffrey's okay and he's ready to play, yeah, you insert him. You don't have to give him a heavy workload. You have the luxury of Guerrero, the great outside zone specific runner, inside-outside zone runner. He fits that very well. He's building confidence. You have that luxury. Jordan Mason, we'll see if they have that luxury because he had the shoulder sprain and that was re-aggravated heading into the bye week. So obviously you have to work with what you have. The 49ers want a great player back sooner rather than later, but you're right. There's no reason to be desperate and to force this before it has to happen. Is there any new info or time frame on Greenlaw? I gave you guys that info before the bye week. The 49ers are going to evaluate him this week, and then it's going to turn into a week-to-week proposition. And it was always extremely unlikely to be ready to go right out of the bye against a team like Tampa Bay. But next week, I think it is possible that you see Dre Greenlaw's practice window open. Maybe not too, but I think the week to week means that we could start looking for it much more diligently every single time we come into the facility on Wednesdays. What's the plan for Feliciano given there's no immediate need? Well, work him back into practice and you don't have to activate him to the 53-man roster, so he doesn't have to take a practice spot or a team spot until you actually need him. So you have 3 weeks with Feliciano, just like you do with Christian McCaffrey. In the case of the offensive line, you've got 9 guys up right now. Everybody's healthy, which is a great thing for the 49ers, but that might not stay the case, right? I mean, it probably won't, just given the nature of this sport. So you've got a 3-week runway for John Feliciano. Again, the offensive line, though, playing well for the 49ers. We can go back to this. I talked about it, and I know a lot of you just now signing in. This is up on the San Francisco Standard. Darker colors are better. Great run block percentiles across the board, especially outside the center position. But even Brendel is above average there. And then Brendel and Williams are the 2 best pass blockers so far for the 49ers. Dominic Pooney has been above average. They've got some struggles with Aaron Banks at left guard and Dominic Pooney at right and Colton McKivitz at right tackle, but McKivitz has improved over year from year 1 to year 2. The right side was a massive issue last year. That's when Feliciano came into that right guard spot, took over for Spencer Burford. You had the 2nd and the 4th percentile between right guard and right tackle, respectively, last year. This year, it's the 60th and the 32nd percentile. I think it's a whole lot better for the 49ers. So Feliciano projects as a 6th man for San Francisco. This is a great point. Christian McCaffrey, with half the wear and tear of the season, is a very dangerous thing for the league. Yes, people need to look at this with the glass half full as well. You could look at stuff with the glass half empty and say, well, is he risking re-aggravation? Sure, That's always a risk. But you can also look at this from the other perspective and then balance those two out if you want to look at this objectively. And the other one is that Christian McCaffrey's played a lot of long seasons in the NFL, not a young running back anymore, but now he's going to be more fresh than ever coming in. So Christian McCaffrey can hit this with a week 1 level of freshness, even though it's week 10. The defenses have all these bruises from the season, and Christian McCaffrey won't whenever he does suit up for the 49ers on game day. I think that's a really salient point, and that's one that I was going to get a little further into once the 49ers do actually activate Christian McCaffrey to the 53-man roster. McKivitz is playing good football this year. I agree. Can the 49ers look at a tight end 2 in the trade market? They're one Kittle injury away from derailing the entire season. Well, no, they're not. They're one Brock Purdy injury away from derailing the entire season. George Kittle is an awesome player, a future Hall of Famer. But let's be honest, this league is set up around the quarterback. They've already lost their top receiver, and they're still absolutely contenders. Brock Purdy has elevated this offense. So is Christian McCaffrey. Looks like he's returning. The be-all, end-all is the QB spot. You can never say, oh, they lost their tight end, they're done for sure. It would damage their chances, but there's only one true mandatory glue piece to all of this, and he wears number 13 for San Francisco. It's Brock Purdy. That being said, you could look to fortify depth at any position, and that's what we're going to be looking at moving forward for San Francisco, because the trade deadline is in about, 24 hours or so, maybe a little bit more than that. 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday. And once the time for that trade deadline rolls around, it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers added pieces. It also wouldn't surprise me if they didn't add pieces, because they already have a really strong roster. They're getting guys back. They've already classified Christian McCaffrey as a trade acquisition of sorts if he does return for this team this year. But you look for value on that trade market. If you find somebody you think can improve your team, an already strong roster at a fair price that lets you sustainably build this moving forward beyond 2024, you do it, just like the 49ers have year over year. If you can't find that, and it gets more and more difficult every year because the 49ers seem to have a better and better roster every year, then you don't, right? So that, yeah, of course, they can always look for a tight end too. If that is there, if an opportunity presents himself, I'm sure the 49ers will be very intrigued by it at the very least. But it's not going to be a situation where if George Kittle gets hurt, the season's automatically done. I think that's a tad over dramatic. Kyle Juszczyk has had more targets over 8 games than he did over 17 last season. Will those targets go down with CMC's return? I believe so. I mean, it's Christian McCaffrey. So let's wait. Let's pump the brakes. McCaffrey is not fully back yet. He's back at practice. He's got to get back on the game day field. That's the next step in all of this. And then we will pivot our analysis to how the 49ers will reintegrate him into the system. You wonder how McCaffrey will even look. Well, I will say that thanks to Matt Lively, who has this video for us, looks spry out on the practice field. Now, I know that this is just really initial practice warm-up footage, so it's going to be hard to glean a lot from this, but it is worth taking a look at. Thanks to Matt from K-Pix, did a great job getting this video at practice today. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter. Check out his stuff on TV. Good young reporter covering the 49ers for K-Pix, and he was able to capture Christian McCaffrey right there. Would I be shocked if the 49ers didn't make a move? No, I would not be shocked. There's a chance they don't. John Lynch has even said, every year there's an expectation that we make a move because we've been so aggressive, but it has to work out. There has to be something that makes sense. Sometimes it's been a smaller move for the 49ers. Jordan Willis in 2020, defensive lineman. That was the year they actually traded away Quan Alexander to the Saints. There was Charles Omenihu, 2021. What was that, a 6th-round pick that they sent Houston? So that was not a big move as well. Obviously, the big one was Christian McCaffrey in 2022, and the 49ers hoping they get a similar type of boost with him arriving now, coming back from the injury in 2024. But it's not guaranteed. 2023, Randy Gregory and Chase Young. So they went after defensive linemen. I've talked so much about the potential defensive line trades the 49ers can make. We know that they've been interested on the market in Davon Godchaux, the defensive tackle from the Patriots, but nothing's a guarantee because you're not necessarily going to find agreement with another team for compensation. So it's got to make sense for both sides. It takes two to tango. And again, the 49ers already have a strong roster. And they're getting a lot of guys back, like Christian McCaffrey, from injury over the back half of the season. Those will be acquisitions in and of themselves. So if there's something that makes sense for the 49ers to pounce on, yes, they can do so again. They've been the most aggressive front office in football over the past few years. But if there's something there that doesn't make sense, don't expect the 49ers to pounce on it. Just keep an open mind here over the next 24 hours or so. We'll see how the 49ers strategy plays out. Anyway, thanks for all of your questions. Christian McCaffrey is back. Article was up immediately on the San Francisco Standard. How about you guys go and check that out? I've already shown you the video from Matt Lively. This is the article. The link to this and also the link to this one, which is how a healthy Christian McCaffrey can take the 49ers from good to great. Those are both up there. So go and check out the San Francisco Standard. Sign up. Big news for the 49ers coming out of their bye week. We will talk to you soon.